Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first episode of Grassroot Chats, the technical area. This is a show where we get special guests in the building to pick their brains about what they have gone through in the world of football and what they are doing now. In the studio with me is Neil Hinder, as you all will know him from the Grassroot Chats. But we have a special guest in the building. A man that knows his way around the net, picking balls from it, and of course, defending balls from going in it. Ladies and gentlemen, our first ever guest of Grassroot Chat, the technical area, Mr. Gareth Powell. Yeah. And the crowd is going well. How you doing, sir? You happy to be on Grassroot Chats?
Yes, definitely. Been looking forward to this all day, so yeah.
Nice. This is the first time I've been outnumbered by goalkeepers, but we shall see how it goes.
Yeah, but this is the first time I've had to just say that I'm not a goalkeeper because I can't have this argument today.
Yeah, you sure? There's plenty of time. So, Mr. Powell, before we talk about, what you're doing now in the world of football with First Class Goalkeeping, let's take you back to the early stages of how you actually got into football. So tell us a bit about yourself. Where were you born? Where were you raised? And how did love of sports just get you into the goalkeeping world?
From Newcastle, Geordie boy, where football is religion. Football is everything to us. But got into football sort of accidentally. Used to hang about with friends that were a lot older than me. I was a bit bigger, couldn't really run about when it was World Cup doubles, and it was very much easy to throw me in goal. Kept me happy, kept them happy, and it just seemed to grow from there. Soon I was, losing the weight, diving about, making saves that I wasn't weeks, months previously. So it was sort of friends bullying me to go and go because I wasn't fit enough to run on the pitch and play, and I let friends down. So it was easy just to get stuck in goal. And
are you saying your team had like a terrible defense? Because if you were making a lot of saves and losing weight.
No, in World Cup doubles, so you'd have one goalkeeper, and your rest of your mates would all pair up with the best players, and you score a goal and you're through. And I just didn't have the fitness, didn't have the stamina, didn't have the skill, and because I was a big lad, I was very much. It was easier to put me in goal, and they got the blast balls off anyone who was in front of them. So eventually I was, you start off and you're watching balls fly past you, and then all of a sudden you're making saves that you didn't think you could do.
How old were you at the time? When you were actually stuck in goal?
8s, 9s. You hear about kids, we start at 3, 4, and you go through now. I was very much late to the game, really, because of, I would say, my size.
How big is big? When you say you were big, how big is big?
Yeah, heavy, without using the word fat, but yeah, heavy. And then it all seemed to just drop off. I was 6 foot by the time I hit 12, 13. One of my biggest attributes was I could throw a ball past the halfway line by the time I was 12. A lot of kids couldn't even kick that far. So, the more you train, the more you're getting put in goal with your mates. It was day on after day, and I credit them for some of the journey that I had today.
I mean, some people will probably have an issue with me saying this, that this is probably the first time we can hear that bullying brought out a positive impact and actually turned you into a great goalkeeper, I guess.
Yeah, it's not bullying in the sense of what it could have been. They were basically, you can't run, you're not good, go and goal, and then all of a sudden I'm making saves, and they're realising that, well, actually it's harder to score now.
Okay, so at what point, so you got in goal, you got put there because you were not fit enough to play outfield. You started loving it, and when did you decide, you know what, I can actually do this for real? This is gone past me just wanting to hang out with my friends.
Yeah, so I would say within the first season, you're talking 12-year-old. I've joined a club, a grassroots team that doesn't have a goalkeeper coach. You're getting warmed up by one of the dads, and the rest of the skills that you're starting to learn through playing 11 side and football starts becoming natural to you. I was picked up by Newcastle United early on, so not only was I playing with my friends every night, I was then having to go to training 2 to 3 times a week with Newcastle. I was training with my grassroots team. In From that, you're just progressing all the time. The more you can do, and it's repetition for goalkeepers.
And when did you find, obviously, going from playing with all your friends, and like the dad's warming you up? I'm assuming that's just taking shots at your chest, right, to catch the ball and 2 little dives, etc. How did that then feel for you, changing from that to, you said Newcastle picked you up, so obviously you had natural talent at that particular point, but the training must have been vastly different, because no one, I mean this nicely, no one cares about goalkeepers when they're younger, right? No one's looking out for, how can we make this keeper better? What do they do? Like all school training, 11-a-side, like adults. The goalkeeper's the forgotten, child, basically, that no one cares. So how did that journey, help you?
Yeah, so like you said, you're getting warmed up by the sub who's not playing, who's half-hearted, smashing balls at you from 5 yards out. You then go into crosses, you get a couple of crosses, and then you getting shots at you from edge of the box. And you've gone from that, going into the Newcastle School of Excellence with Simon Smith, who went on to be one of the England goalkeeper coaches. Was there with Sir Bobby at Newcastle, has vast knowledge of the game, and you are then put into a whole aspect of basics. Learn to catch, learn positioning, learn footwork, and I just took it in, and it's a typical saying of a sponge, just absorbed everything you could, listened to every word that they said, and I just loved it, and it was just massive. To be able to experience that, because I've never been trained before, and a lot of grassroots keepers won't have been trained, and that's sort of why I'm in the position I'm in now. But it was just great being at Newcastle and experience.
So one of the things that you said there was, there was the basics, and I know it sounds funny to people that are goalkeepers, that those that aren't might not understand when you said that you were learning to catch. Like everyone's going to assume that you could catch the ball before you signed by Newcastle. So like that fundamental difference between what did they teach you with catching that was different to what you learned playing with your mates on the street?
So the difference is about, you will say that people know how to catch a ball. The difference is knowing when to catch, how to catch, because it's not just about someone volleying the ball from you and you're catching it in front of you. It's low positions, mid, and then high positions, and understanding that the technique will be different all the time. It's not just someone in front of you smashing the ball and now you can catch. No, it's very much the pressure within a game, your hand positioning within the ball that's coming towards you, and then obviously in turn with that, it's about how you get your body in line with the ball, how you get your body into a position to be able to dive if need be, and it goes into, people write books about it because there's so much to a goalkeeper's game now.
So you went from grassroots football, getting picked up by Newcastle, going from the subs and dads smashing balls at you, and of course learning some technique, which is all good. So at this point in time, you are thinking to yourself, I could do this. I could go up to be a good goalkeeper. So what happens after Newcastle? Were you still going back playing for your grassroots team, and then what was the progression from there?
So yeah, at the time, it's all changed now in terms of once you're at an academy, you're signed at an academy. They don't allow you to go to your grassroots team where you're with your friends. And back then, it wasn't a case of that. It was you train with Newcastle through the week. You have the match on the weekend, and then any other time, you're back with your grassroots team. So literally at that point, I was training 5 to 6 times a week. A match on a Saturday, possibly a match on a Sunday, because it was Sunday league football. And as a kid, you don't say no to that. The more you can have the ball and be with your friends, that's what you want. And in a way, it's a bit of a shame now that kids obviously grow up playing the football, either being the grassroots or being in the academy.
Well, I guess they're seen as club commodities. They don't want them to get injured, and the clubs are protecting their players. So what happened after Newcastle? Well, how did progression go on from there?
So being at Newcastle, went on plenty of tournaments all over. Went to a Milk Cup over in Northern Ireland, and then as you go through school, you're in school competitions, county competitions, and you get seen by other scouts. So at the time, Wimbledon had came in, Norwich, Birmingham, and then eventually it was signed for Tranmere Rovers.
What year was this?
So 95, 96 season. So as soon as I finished school, 96, 16-year-old, I think it was literally 2 weeks, and then I was down to Tranmere for pre-season.
And how did that change? Like, so you're down Tranmere. Are you still with the under 18s, under 21s, or under 16s, or are you mixing?
So it was youth. Yeah. So back then, youth trainee YTS forms. You sign a 2 year, and then you're looking for that year's pro contract or whatever they're going to offer you. I've not, you have it in your head. Newcastle United, 96, Keegan era, your boyhood club, and I was very much in the terms of, you're not gonna go through here. You're not gonna be allowed to progress. You're gonna be taught well. You're gonna be trained everything. Are you good enough? And I've looked at Tranmere. I've looked at a few other clubs, and Tranmere was just like a second home straight away.
So you already felt that at that age, because Newcastle being the club it was in '96, going for the Premier League title at the time. So you actually could tell yourself as a 16-year-old that I'm not going to make it here. And this is because of what? The quality they were bringing in, or just self-belief?
So what happened is Keegan scrapped the reserves, and the progression from that was very much there's a youth team, and then there wasn't a reserve team. That would be your natural progression, which made it, obviously, looking at it, made it harder to jump from a youth team straight into a first team. So from that, it wasn't very much a case of I've brought this on. I thought about it myself. I think you have people in your ear. Scouts are very much looking to get you into the clubs, and I think I just made the decision on a club that was so like a second home, so caring, so wanting the best for me, that it was an easy decision to be able to move away from home. And a 16-year-old, you don't know anyone other than the lads you're walking onto the training ground with, and it was such a great decision.
So the key question here now is, I like to go into the deep and dirty stuff. So the key question here was, what was your first contract like? Like 50,000 a week? What were you on at the time?
No, so YTS contracts. It's a government led. It's £50, £100, and that's what you're basically housed. So I was originally housed in the club secretary's house by myself. Um, your dinners are scheduled for you. Your training, when you go to train, you're taken in, you're dropped off. When you're finished, you're back home. It was very quickly. I was moved from there, from being by myself. I've come down from Newcastle. There's a lot of local lads, and then I was housed, and there was about eight of us, 7 or 8 in one house all together, and it was we called it the digs. It was stone's throw from the football ground, and that's where I sort of maybe come out of my shell a bit more, because you're not by yourself in a house with the club secretary that you think you can't move. And you're with the rest of your friends, your mates who are you play football with, and
So,
you
so
share.
16-year-old, £50 a week, YTS contract, as you said, and that contract is usually for 2 years till you're 18, right?
Yeah, so ours was a bit different, I think, because I moved away. It was £100, and you're looking at that and you're going, it might not be much, but you're getting your house paid for, you're getting your meals paid for, you had your money for what you needed to do and go out, and like the internet had just started in, I think, '96, so it was like you got a phone, and you didn't really need it. There was no bills you paid for, so other than that, your money was for you, and you went out and you enjoyed yourself, and yeah,
So,
it
so
was
as a 16-year-old, you're making what, £400 a month? All
yeah.
your bills are paid for. Did you have? Obviously you felt like you were the top boy in the town, had money and all that story. Did you have? What was it like for your siblings, or did you have friends that were not footballers that had to come around and help you spend that money?
No, it's because I was away, so I didn't know anyone. My brother was obviously back home. He was still at school. Um, Obviously, my mum and dad were there. It was too far away really to travel. My dad didn't drive. My mum sort of just started learning. So I was really away from everything of home life. Um, you didn't get the chance to go home very often.
Did I help you concentrate more on just football?
Oh, massively, yeah, because that's what you were there to do. Every academy kid, every 16-year-old who's just signed for that club, that's all they wanted to do. They wanted to just play, train. You finish training and you're gutted, and you want to be there the next day. And um, you know, it's the first time you think about, oh, it's Christmas Day, and you're in training. Your mom's asking you why you're not coming home. It doesn't work like that. A lot of people don't realise, and understand people's thoughts in terms of players are on big money and things like that. And there's no way I'm trying to um, make reasons for that. But footballers, Christmas Day, your missus, why you're not why you're not home? I'm training. You've got to make excuses, and people don't like that. So it's
So that
um,
at 16 and 17, obviously the 2 year, the white, for those that don't know about YTS, that no longer exists. It's now a modern apprenticeships, or I suppose college. Most of the younger ones would be going through now, opposed to the YTS. With that, and you missing Christmas, that's it's a sacrifice still. You're 16, 17, you're not on 50, 60, 70,000 a year. And I know you were alluding to, no one feels sorry for these footballers earning massive amounts of money, but at 16 and 17, you're trying to get somewhere. You're trying to show commitment. You're not earning an absolute wedge of money. I know it was the dark ages for some people, thinking of 96, pre-internet, basically. We had phones that we used to have to press 30,000 times to send a text message to your mate, etc. So those were massively different days. Did you find that because you were so, I want to say, isolated from your family, that having all of your teammates in the same house, then you all became closer because of that proximity that you had?
Yeah, definitely. And I think from travelling, a lot of the local lads were all best friends anyway. They all knew each other because they all played with each other. There's a couple of lads from Ireland. There's a lad from Wolverhampton, and it's you get closer because you're there 24/7 with each other, and that's what makes you tighter as a group. It's what makes you better as a team. You go out and we go out together, and when we're not out, obviously we're at home, and it's about the dynamics of who gets to control the telly, who's down for dinner first, who's late, and it's things like that
And
have fond memories.
And this is pre-FIFA as well. So this is
this
isn't like you couldn't sit in and just enjoy yourself, right?
Like that. Yeah. Mario, it was it's one of them where it's just, I think one of the lads had a Commodore 64 he brought.
Yeah.
It's about occupying your time the best you can before tomorrow. 8 o'clock, you're back there, cleaning boots.
Yeah.
And starting to.
So when you were at Tremness in 96, 97, you had some top goalkeepers there in the first team.
Yeah.
They are like real good goalkeepers, yeah? You, Eric Nixon, Steve Simonson, and Danny Coyne. It's not a bad bit of research there, was it? But they're good keepers back in the day.
Yeah, so Simo, another Northeast lad, who's moved away. He's the year above me. Danny Coyne, Welsh international, very, very good keeper. And Eric, who was my first goalkeeper coach other than Simon Smith, who had just stopped playing, was clearly fit enough to continue playing, but had these very good young keepers coming through.
And
where would you rate yourself among that bunch? Where would you rate yourself among the bunch? Because I like how you mentioned that they were very good, but where would you rate yourself among that bunch?
Hand on heart, I knew they were a lot better. And I knew coming in, Steve Simonson, 6'4", Danny Coyne was athletic. He reminded me so much of Shea Given. He was, these were lads who were playing. I think Simo was near enough first team at 17-year-old. Danny had got an injury, and sort of in my first year, I went from being a youth team keeper, having Danny Coyne injured, Steve Simpson first choice, and now I was playing reserve football at 16-year-old, and it was the luck or the bad timing of an injury can really propel what you do as a keeper, as a player.
And did they? I know that they were young at the back, but they were younger back then. They weren't much older than you, really. I mean, it feels like a lifetime when they're just a couple of years and you're like 16, 17 and they're like 20, etc. Were they helpful for your progress in it, or was it kind of them and you? I don't know. There's a goalkeepers union, but how helpful were they?
That was the first sign of going from school of excellence that was classed as back. So there's 10, 15 goalkeepers being taught by one coach. This was the first sign I ever had of the goalkeepers' little union and understanding what it was about, knowing that people weren't going to take a mick. You're there to train and put your all into what you do, because a lot of people maybe don't realise the goalkeepers go out before outfield players. We were training for an hour and a half before outfield players were even there, and then we were being put into more training with the outfield players because obviously they need a goalkeeper. So we trained before everyone else. We trained longer than everyone else, and that only makes you a better person, better goalkeeper.
So at 16, you were the reserve goalkeeper. Talk us through your progression with Tranmere Rovers. So
So,
when did
yeah,
you break into
so
the first team? And then how was it like to actually play your first game?
so this is one of the obviously the tragic stories of it. 16-year-old, obviously gone there thinking I'm just a youth trainee. Um, you're playing, and within the season, there's an injury to the first team goalkeeper, Steve Simpson, who is obviously classed as a youth as well. Then propels up into the first team, and now there's no one for the reserve team. So I'm played reserve team football, 16, 17 year old, playing against, at the time, the clubs in the surrounding areas, Liverpool, Everton, Man United, um, because it's not like the categories that are now. It was very much, you're in a Pontins reserve league. I'm travelling with the first team to Newcastle in the FA Cup. Again, it'll always stick in my mind because it was Valentine's Day, and you're getting wrong for not being home, but you're being selected, and who knows if there was an injury, you're getting on, and you're 17-year-old in the FA Cup 5th round, and it's things like that at the time you feel you're ready, you're confident. You train every day. All you want to do as a kid is to get on that pitch and play.
So traveling as a 16-year-old, you're ready. So now you're the reserve goalkeeper, playing different games at reserve level, also traveling with the first team. So officially, when was your breakthrough to actually get into the first team as probably number 2, and then how did you go on to become number 1?
So this is where it goes downhill, I suppose. 17. So next season, 17 to 18-year-old, pre-season, you get picked for obviously the first team games. You're playing alongside first teamers, and we play in a game, and there's a ball slip through behind the defence. I've come out as any goalkeeper would naturally do, and the centre forwards hit me in the knees. My studs have stayed in the ground, and my knee has rotated, and I've done my cruciate ligament and my LCL, which is the lateral down the side, and my world comes tumbling down. That injury in all was 11 months, full reconstruction, and you look at it and you go, wow. Hospital bed within a few days, operation, full cast, metal rods, and you don't know where you're going to come from there.
At this point, does the doctor tell you this might be it, or does he tell you it's fine, you're young, you recover?
No, I think it wasn't a case of saying it was over. It was saying basically your season's over. This is going to be a long time for you to recover. And from that, you're looking at yourself and going, wow, is this over? You're doubting yourself. You're then not doubting yourself because you're getting mad, you're getting angry that someone's done this to you. And the sooner you can get back to training, the sooner you can show that you're capable of doing it all over again.
So, how old are you when that happened, Gareth? Sorry?
17,
and then you were out for a year. So
still on YTS?
Yeah. So,
yeah.
I mean, the recovery, the treatment and stuff like that, worlds apart back then compared to compression chambers, like you said, metal rods, etc., full cast. They probably put a nice bandage on it now and a little bit of keyhole surgery to change. Like,
I think it's 4 months now.
So that, which is a massive amount of time, right? And you're young, and you're at the bit where you're probably in one of the most confident ages of your life, because you're the most handsome, you're the fittest you're going to be, you're in the best position you're going to be. So you are literally like up here, I assume, at that before that day, and then afterwards, like you're crushing down into. I mean, that must have been horrendous for you, and especially not being at home as well. Did you recover in tram there, or did you go back home to get like a bit of sympathy?
The initial was stayed at Tranmere.
Yeah.
I was then able to go home for a couple of weeks because obviously still on crutches. The leg was basically where there's metal bars that needed rotating every so often because your leg couldn't be kept out straight. The muscles needed to be able to be turned so much. That's how they did it. So I was given 2 weeks, went home, obviously saw family, came back, and then straight into training, straight into trying to get this recovery and being able to walk again was the target.
Yeah. And what was your mindset at that point? Were you where were you at mentally?
It was hard. It was very hard because literally being selected for the first team that that's what you saw it as. It was pre-season. You were alongside first teamers. It was the first time it sort of has happened, and then that goes and happens, and your world's turned upside down. And within a few weeks, you want to walk but you can't. You want to go upstairs but you can't. Slip on a crutch, so you can't even go out with your friends. It's not worth it. It solely has to be the focus on trying to get that right, which keeps you in the house.
Yeah.
Keeps once you've gone to the physio, once you've gone to the club, you're straight back home. You're not getting out, so it can put you into a depression because that's what it is. If I didn't have my friends around me, and I had been in the house I was originally in, hand on heart, I could have been a total different person.
And that must be like one of the hardest bits. I know you've obviously got the physicalness of everything else, but the mental pain that you're going through, the fact that you want to be doing things that you can't do. And I know that you said that your friends, it was helpful that they were there and you're in that house with them. But was it also one of those things that was a little bit hard as well because they're still out doing what you want to be doing, right?
Yeah, definitely. And they're going to training. You're going to the training ground and seeing them being able to kick a ball, dive about. And although you're working hard on your physio, it's not the same when you've not got the gloves on and you've not got the hands and you're not getting muddy and it's soul destroying.
And part of the therapy to get you through the recovery, what was the hardest part? Was it how did you mentally, was it you actually wanting to do it or feeling that you had to do it?
There was times of ups and downs because you're losing your fitness, you're losing the size of your leg. Muscle waste is phenomenal, and it's at points my arm was bigger than my leg, so it was a case of knowing you had to build that back up again. You needed to do fitness work that you hated doing as a kid and why you were putting goal in the first place. And all of that scene, it was very much, you've got to do it. It's you've got to. I've had a great physio, Les Parry, who was, he was solid. He was excellent. He was exactly what I needed because you can Google him. He's the only physio that wears shorts and a t-shirt in the snow. That's what it's like. That's what he was like, and he was just excellent. Everything I needed. Where some people might need that shoulder, he was hard with me. He got me through things, and whether he knew that's what I needed,
well,
thank him.
That's good.
Big shout out to Les Perry, wherever you are. If you're ever around, we'd love to have you on Grassroot Chats. Let's get your own side of the story of how you revived this man. So how long was your rehab throughout? And at what point did you get off the crutches? And when did you get back into football?
Yeah, so I was given another contract because of how hard I was working. I was called in the office by John Aldridge, basically expecting to be let go, as you would. And he went, no, we're going to, you've worked hard, you've shown with this. Um, this is your reward for that, and let's try and get you back playing. I sort of was so thankful for that. I had worked hard. I knew I had. Um, I went out on loan at Wigan. Played some reserve team games for them because our assistant manager had left and took charge. So he knew what I could do and was, giving us a try. It got to the end towards it, and my leg wasn't the same. I still hadn't. It wasn't the size it needed to be. My fitness wasn't what it could and should have been. I was fit enough and strong enough, but I needed extra time, and I was running out. So I was obviously in the end I was let go, which is again absolutely destroying because you're leaving your friends, you're leaving the people that have just helped you get to a position. I've already seen some good friends leave because they weren't kept on for a pro contract, and some were, and then I'm leaving. Now I'm leaving, and I've got to find a club, and that. But also I've got to move away from somewhere I've just called my home for a few years and find a new club. You don't have agents then. You go off who you know and who maybe the scouts were from when you were a kid. I went to Mansfield, Chesterfield, and then I ended up going to Scarborough for the year, who were still playing in the league at the time. Great club, seaside club. I think it was just a case of maybe if I was physically strong enough, I would have gone straight in. I wasn't. They took a chance on me. It didn't really pay out, and I don't know. I was still
Yeah,
struggling.
so you're about 19 roughly, right? At this point, so you're still young, really in
Yeah,
life, right?
20, yeah. I think,
I'm not. Yeah, I'm like in footballing terms, you're a pensioner at 21, right? Compared to some of these players that burst onto the scene. So, when Tranmere let you go, and then you had to find a new club, and that didn't work out quite as well as you wanted it to. Had you already started making backup plans in your head of what you were going to do, or are you just playing the world by ear because you're a 20-something-year-old young man and
yeah. Obviously, I knew when the contract was out. There wasn't initially any talks. I was back playing reserve team football at Tranmere, and then I think it was more because there wasn't any talks. It was more than likely you were going to be let go. So you get onto the friends that you used to be with at Newcastle, some of the scouts that took me to the other clubs. Because it's halfway through a season or it's going towards the end of the season, you're looking at the following season. So it was basically calling out those that I'd played with who'd gone on to other clubs and seeing if they needed keepers and going from trial to trial again. And then obviously being able to be picked up at the time by Scarborough. I had three friends who were from Newcastle who had been released at Newcastle and gone there. So they basically had put a word in and I got signed.
So for those of us that aren't any good at football, but we've played for our whole, I'll say our lives, and watched it and spoke about it. Talk us through what a trial would involve for a goalkeeper, and what are they putting you through?
Yeah, so again, exactly what you would when I stepped into my first year at Tranmere. You get there for 8 o'clock. You have your breakfast as a team. you are changed, and obviously you changed and ready. The keepers go straight out, so they will do technical stuff. It's all about keeping yourself sharp, handling, positioning, working on all types of drills because you're in a group of three. From there, you've done an hour and a half to maybe 2 hours, and then the outfield players come in. They've been obviously doing their fitness, sharpness work, and then they go into either nine-a-sides, 11-a-sides. You split up for shooting, and then you're basically put where you're needed for them outfield players for what they need. So you go into shooting drills, crossing, position and stuff. Any shooting towards the air and free kicks that they need. That's what obviously the keepers will want, and the outfield players need as a keeper.
And are these trials just one day? So you just turn up, and obviously you didn't just turn up randomly, right?
No, so they generally it's a week.
Yeah.
My biggest trial was like 2.5 weeks. So obviously they want to see you in games. They want to see how you interact with the team, and they want to see what you can do within training sessions. So obviously from a Monday to a Friday, there's going to be different aspects of what they train as a team. So it's to rock in for a Monday might just be fitness work. Tuesday might be the looking at technical stuff. They need to see you on all aspects.
Yeah, that's cool. So obviously you're having your trial, you've been let go, or you're having a trial for your first time, either which way as a footballer. What type of nerves are you feeling on this? Because this is like an elongated job interview, right? In the nicest possible way. And no one likes a job interview at the best of times. And you're not even just playing a game for fun as a kid. You're now going to the point of, I've got to have a good game in goal. I need shots, not just a clean sheet, right? Because that isn't going to help you. You actually need to be tested and tried. So how does that differ mentally to everything else that you've done in the footballing world?
It all takes you back to day one where you're looking for that contract. You have to that first contract, because this is exactly, it's deja vu all over again. You can't make mistakes. You can't get injured. There's no excuses. You turn up, you show them what you can do. Because it was back then, I've gone to a trial, and they're doing it on like a fake, like the old sand astroturfs. This is all that's underneath is
the
like
real Bernie stuff, right? You know you're going to go home with sore hips because you've not dived correctly at one point, and
So you go there, and it's not grass; it's concrete underneath a carpet, and they're expecting you to do diving, and you do it. You do it because everyone else is doing it. This club might not have the facilities that your old club has, but you want that contract, and you're going to do what you need to do to be able to show them. And you see people play injured, you see bruises, everything, but you do it because this is what football is.
So talk us through. So when you tried at Mansfield, as you said. So talk us through what happened after Mansfield? As you said, hand on heart, you knew it was done. So what was the transition point? Where did you get, how did you, just talk us through what happened after that in terms of career?
So within a week of the trial at Mansfield, I've got another club, Chesterfield. And that's through someone I roomed with at Tranmere. So you're speaking to people that are at clubs, speaking to people who potentially can get you in just to be seen. Because it's not about getting the contract, you've got to be seen first, because these people don't know you. At that age, you've done nothing. You just need to impress. So it's about going back to whatever it takes, training hard, being the first one there, leave, what's you need doing, and just turning it on as best you can.
Okay. So when was retirement from goalkeeping? When did you decide enough was enough? And when did you think that, you know what,
Oh,
I've given it all I can give and it's now time to give back?
it's do you know what it is? I never have retired. I've
Well, you could still play in the
from
Premier League now.
playing professionally. I've went straight to non-league football. From non-league football, you're in the FA Cup. You're going into rounds with Fly Spartans, getting into the round two, beating teams. You're in the FA Vars. So although it's not a professional standard, you're getting good money. Obviously, you're having to work because that's. But I hit 38. I've had my 6th knee operation. And if you said tomorrow there's a game, I'd go and put my gloves on and I'd turn up. And I think if you ask any goalkeeper, they would probably do the same.
Is that
They
is, is
had it
that
in
is
them.
that true, Neil? If you ask any goalkeeper, we don't do the same.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, if someone asked me nicely enough, then I'd probably put my gloves on. And I've never been paid to play. I mean, not with my eyesight. I mean, I would be ecstatic if I just got one game paid for. I would be like, I'd feel $1 million. I'd be standing there literally for the rest of my life being like, I am the Don. But I don't think that's ever gonna happen. But I would literally, I've played way too old.
We will always have you in Grassroot Chat, and we always want to hear what you want to say. We love goalkeepers. But ladies and gentlemen, it's goodbye from Neil. Goodbye from Mr. Garrett. And of course, goodbye from me.
More